Good morning, I'm Judith Silverman, and this morning I'll be talking about differentiated instruction. We will begin with the ideas and theories. Then, on to the kinds of differentiated learning. Then modifications that are needed for different students. Some examples, and from there we'll talk about the very important social skills. At least I think they're the most important thing. Ideas and theories. What is differentiated instruction? According to Tomlinson, teachers in differentiated classroom accept and act on the premise that they must be ready to engage students in instruction through different approaches to learning by appealing to a range of interests and by using varied rates of instructions along with varied degrees of complexity and differing support systems. There are three types of learning based on the students. The first is readiness. Is the student even ready to learn? And if so, what is their functional grade level? Are they ready to learn at that particular level, or are they more advanced? Second is interest. What is the student interested in? You can find that out by talking to them. What's going to capture their attention? What might thrill them? And finally is their profile. Who and what are they? Where did they come from? And what is their history? There are many benefits to differentiated learning. First, every student learns differently, as I mentioned previously. For example, I had a student who learned his colors through audiobooks versus just learning the colors by looking at them. Another benefit is that most classes today, there are varying forms of disabilities. Those could range anywhere from a low incident to high incident or a gifted individual who needs more independent work. Teaching this way also provides an opportunity for more inclusive classrooms. Kids don't like to feel like they're being left out. They want to feel like they're part of a classroom, and an inclusive classroom provides that opportunity. This also provides a better understanding of the materials when they're using different kinds of methods. Moving on to key points in differentiated learning. First, let's talk about flexible grouping. There is such a large opportunity in flexible grouping. You can do a one-person, a two-person, you can do a whole classroom, you can do groups of 5s, you can work in groups of 10. Any kind of opportunity provides a chance for learning. Next, as the students grow and change within their space, they can move from group to group. So someone that's reading at one level and they advance into the next level can move into another group. As I mentioned before, kids don't all learn the same way, so different learning styles, such as literature. Some kids like to just read their information. Other kids that are not so great at reading can use an audio approach. Others that are more mathematically inclined could look at things from a mathematical perspective. Or those that really enjoy writing can sit down and do writing through journaling. And of course, we have technology, which is probably one of the biggest ones for our students today. They're very technically, logically driven, and this provides a great opportunity for students to explore it further. We also have different levels providing students of varying interests. So what interests one may not necessarily interest another student. So interest centers are always a great opportunity for students. Differentiated learning also allows students for different kinds of contracts and multiple grading opportunities, such as rubric grading, or effort grading, or IEP grading, as well as others. And finally, this approach sets kids up for success versus failure. Today, we live in a society where it's about being successful. And if you set up a child for failure, then that's going to be something that's going to be stuck with them for an extended period of time, perhaps a lifetime. So providing different resources for students to learn is going to set them up for success versus the failure. In this slide, you see that students learn according to different ways. They learn from readiness, interest, and learning styles, and teachers can differentiate by content, process, and product. Let's start with content based on readiness, learning, and profile and interests. Content is the information that students are challenged with in order to reach their goals. A few examples are varying their text levels, wishing different levels of text depending on students' ability, through technology such as Checkpoint or Bookshare, or finally, journaling for those that really enjoy writing. Next, we have process based on readiness, learning profiles, and interest. As Tomlinson says, process describes activities designed to ensure that students use key skills to make sense of, apply, and transfer essential knowledge and understanding. A few examples are through tiered activities, various stations for exploration of information with varied times to complete an assignment. This also provides hands-on support for those students that need extra help, and a chance for all different kinds of groups of students. That's providing flexible grouping areas. Finally, we come to product, based on readiness, learning, profile, and interest. According to Tomlinson, product is the vehicle through which students show and extend what they have come to understand and can do so as a result of considerable segment of learning. This can be done through the rubric of students with varying abilities, or varied assignments based on student skill level, and finally through communications based on the chosen format. So how do we modify a general curriculum? Well, we can start with various types of social groups, or design lessons plans on a variety of learning styles. Give students the choice of how they want to learn and what format they want to learn in. Additionally, you can access the information constantly to determine what's working and what's not working. But remember, start small. If you throw too many things out at once, you're not going to know what's really working. And finally, you can enlist the help of a GIAP student by asking them to act as a mentor or guide them in another student in a group. In this chart, you'll see that there are many forms of intelligencies and how students may learn something. For example, student A may enjoy learning through music. In my preschool, that work may be done through learning the ABC song, while student B may enjoy learning spatial approaches such as Legos or slides or through videos. Moving on, things to consider when planning any kind of modification. Ask yourself, what's the child's functional grade level? You don't want to plan a lesson for a high-incidence student that's really meant for a low-incidence student. What is the main goal? What are you looking to get from the student? 3, what is their learning profile? How best do they learn? If they learn through journaling, don't give them a video. How do you adjust the goal for each student? What really needs to be modified? Maybe the format or the location or the number of kids involved. Who is responsible for following up to assure goals are being met? Is it a team of people or is it just a student and a teacher? And finally, are there any kinds of social goals that need to be met? For each student that requires some form of modification plan, you need to consider what and how it will get done. First, start with gathering information, such as who is the child? What might their profile look like? Second, determine what's needed. Maybe just extra time is needed, or maybe the student needs a computer to write due to poor fine motor skills. Third, create a plan that will best suit the student's needs. This includes goals. Fourth, execute a plan. A one-day plan won't work for you. You need time to see if the modification is working, which takes us to the 5th point. Reassess and modify. If something isn't working, here is where you provide some alternatives. Once you have tweaked the plan, you move on to the 6th and final step, evaluate. Every plan needs to be evaluated as to its effectiveness. Track incidents or track successes and goals. So now you have your plan. Let's move on to classroom modifications. Every school and every classroom is different, but hopefully your school has access to at least one working computer for each classroom. Computers are a great resource for so many different reasons. It allows students to work not just independently, but also in groups. It's a multi-purpose tool, and with kids today spending so much time online, it's engaging and relevant. It's easily modified. You can use different resources such as Bookshare or Checkpoint or any other resource that's available to you. Another option within the classrooms are interest centers. These are great for kids that want to delve into information in different ways. Again, this can be done in groups or independently. The centers can be driven by multimedia, such as videos or slides, or even a short movie presentation, or any other form of multimedia. Additional opportunities are through an art-driven area, such as drawing or coloring, or even through art books. Children can learn in so many different ways with an artistic approach. Finally, what I consider to be one of the biggest areas that all different kinds of students need is our social skills area. It doesn't matter if you have the most incredibly polite student, chances are he or she is lacking some kind of social skills. It could be the student is a loner and needs help learning to enter a group, or needs to find their own voice. Or a student has low self-esteem due to a poor family situation, they're afraid to make mistakes. Doing some form of social skills every day can truly benefit everyone. So how do you teach social skills? Social skills can be taught in so many different ways. They can be taught one-on-one, small groups, independently, in large groups. They can be taught with partners. It can be a whole classroom. It can be an entire grade. In fact, my two kids, when they were in 7th grade, had a social skills building day. They left the campus. They went to a camp. They learned to work together with one another. They learned how to communicate, how to create teams, how to be partners, how to work independently, and also in such a large format of classes, as many as 200 kids working together to create one thing. There are so many different opportunities for social skills instruction. It's an everyday experience. It's an everyday opportunity. So where do we go from here? As I mentioned earlier, data collection is essential when you're working in a differentiated classroom. Here are a few examples of charts for tracking. Some of these keep track of just the goals for independent learners, and others keep track of behavior, intervention plans. And then finally, we have one here that talks about how can I improve. This is one that a student can use on its own and hopefully keep them on task as the day goes on. The day can always get away from you, especially when you're working with so many children, and these charts are essential to keep you and your students on track. A few final words. I hope through this presentation you can see that differentiated learning within a classroom really isn't a challenge to put in place. There are so many ways to modify your teaching in your classroom and your approach for varying students with disabilities and abilities. I hope you had some good takeaways from this and understand that implementing even a few changes in your approach really is that simple. Thank you for your time.